would be Brazil with Larissa, Silva, and Kampagne.
And this is part 4 of our coverage of the 2023 MR1 Mondioring Grand Prix in Mafra, Portugal. Coming on the field is Larissa Silva from Brazil with her dog Haus Kampagne. They're still having technical issues with the microphone, unfortunately. The judge determines the sequence of the obedience exercise on the day, and all the dogs must follow the same sequence of exercises. So the first exercise will still be the food refusal. And the dog will get full points for this exercise. This next exercise will be heeling. According to the Working Dog website, this dog is the Brazilian 2023 Level 1 champion. He got a score of 188.5 at their national championships. Let's see how he goes today. Okay, so I don't know if you've noticed it, but in this exercise, the dog lost 1.5 points for 3 faults during the heeling pattern. And now it's the send away. The optimal zone is the area between the two charging bulls. The dog nearly ran straight but eventually ended up between the inside and the outside markers, 4-point penalty. Now it's the retrieve worth 12 points. This retrieve is slightly more difficult because the handler has to sit down when throwing the item. The dog has to sit down when presenting the item to the handler, so it got penalized 1 point. Now it's the absence of handler exercise. This is slightly more difficult than your average absence of handler exercise because the dog has to down in a very tight space. Some dogs may tend to freak out when placed in this situation, so you have to train this if you want to compete at a high level in Mondioring. And that's the distraction. But the handler still has to wait for the full minute to complete. That looked like a perfect exercise in the video, but the dog actually got penalized 1 point for turning. It's not specifically stated in the rules that the dog is not allowed to turn, but judges can be meticulous in a world championship and take GA points. Now we have the change of position exercise. In the rules, the handler has to present their dog in a sit, then go to the initial position. In this case, it's a down. And the pattern for this trial is stand, sit, then down. As per the rules, if your dog doesn't assume the position after the first command, you lose all 3 points for that position. You are still allowed to give up to 2 more commands in order to continue the exercise. You're supposed to recall your dog after the exercise, but she picked him up and lost out on the 1 point for the recall. The jump of choice is the palisade. Most handlers choose the palisade in level 1 because there's less complications compared to the other jumps. full points for that exercise. Now we move on to the suit work exercises, starting with the flee with gunshots. This part of the exercise is referred to as calling the dog. Basically, the decoy is announcing himself to the dog so the dog knows who to engage with. There was a 1-second delay in the dog letting go after the recall. This was penalized 2 points by the judge. And now we have the defensive handler. There are only 3 suit work exercises in level 1, 5 in level 2, and 7 when you get to level 3. Some believe that the defensive handler exercise is the hardest one to train in level 1. That sudden movement by the decoy may confuse some dogs to engage early. But the dog is not allowed to engage until after the handshake and once the decoy hits the handler with both hands. That was an early engagement, so the dog will lose all points for this exercise. An early engagement may not be 0, but the judge was explaining that the handshake has to be completed in order to keep some of the points. The final suit work exercise is the face with stick. This is one of the most important exercises in Mondioring. It's worth 50 points in level 1, 40 points in level 2, and 50 points again in level 3. It was another 2-second delay in the recall. The penalty is 2 points per second, so the dog lost 4 points in this exercise.